Breaker Crunchers, welcome to issue 107 of Couch Crunchers, where we are only doing about 50% of our actual singing, but it makes us sound a lot better. With me is the illustrious Sam, and we've got a special guest who we love having on, Travis.
Hey.
Howdy, Max. Thanks for that great introduction. I do all my own singing.
Yeah,
me and the great Will Ferrell.
Yeah, if you've ever listened to the Comic Exposure podcast, it's a very singy podcast as well. I don't think an episode's gone by where we haven't busted out a lick or two.
I've sung on the show before, and I'm not nearly good enough at dubbing to put someone else's voice in. We will get into why I made that joke though later. But yeah, Sam, I decided it was a good idea to depart from Lance's way of introducing the show. He likes to say it's Saturday night, and I'm like, I don't like to say that. I'm not Absolute Geek Podcast. We are Couch Crunchers over here. We don't copy that ish. Anyways.
Is it copying Absolute Geek to tell people what night it is?
No, not at all.
Or is it more Saturday Night Live?
SATURDAY night? See, that's the first of many songs that we're going to bust out on this podcast.
Ooh, yeah.
Woo! This isn't even coffee.
We got a lot of
this is hot salt water. This is hot. I've been gargling for the last 2 days. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it's Travis you were telling us earlier that you've been experiencing something that we in Arizona don't get a whole lot of.
Yeah, it's rainy here, guys. It is rainy season in Japan. And so there's little rays of sunshine coming in here that I'm going to stare at longingly throughout the podcast. And yeah, it's awful. It's awful. I would much rather have Arizona weather. It's like 100% humidity, wet. Give me that dry heat. Well, actually, Arizona's got its own issues right now. So I'll take the rain, actually.
That's true.
Arizona's freaking hot.
Yeah, ridiculous. Well, I think you're talking about COVID numbers skyrocketing, but, we'll take our chances.
I was talking about that traffic.
Good one. All right.
Well, hey, quick announcement at the top of the show. Lance is not here with us tonight because he had his baby.
Yeah, that's number 5. I mean,
yeah, that's true. Number 1's coming in a couple weeks for me.
The baby thing has gotten a bit out of control these days. There's the baby shower, right? Then there is the gender reveal. Then there's something that I've found in recent years, which is called the baby moon, where the couple goes and takes a vacation right before they have the baby, as in it's like the last time they're going to have sanity. And then I'm guessing, then sometimes depending on your religion, there's like a christening involved. It's just too much, guys. It's too much.
Dude, you must hang out with some really rich people. Because, well, I'm like, we got 3 days in the hospital, and then once we get home, it's back to work, baby. That's all you get. So 3 days in the hospital, and then we're back to work.
Well, I'm blessed. The company I work for is awesome, and I'm going to actually get 6 weeks of paternity leave, so I'm excited about that. But
that's such a millennial notion.
It's wonderful.
It's and a European notion too.
No, Europe has that right.
I had a boss who said that he didn't want to give time off to his male employees who had babies because paternity leave was a millennial notion.
Oh my goodness, that is ridiculous. It's a millennial notion that a baby...
Dude, 3 days? You can't give me 3 days?
That's absurd, man. That's absurd.
I'm sure
that's an absurd idea.
The sexual harassment classes at that office must be pretty good too.
Oh man,
they're saying things like that's a millennial thing. Stick them with the mother and get back to work.
Well, I'm glad I get that time off. It'll be nice to have that opportunity to bond with my baby boy. We're excited to meet him. But you're right, Travis. There's so much crap with babies, man. We didn't do a gender reveal. We just posted on Facebook to let people know the gender. I don't like this whole. You see, like people have died doing those things. They like do explosions. It's not common, but there was a story of somebody doing
the whole state of California caught on fire because of a gender reveal gone anywhere.
Is that really the case?
That is 100% true. Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
Oh, it was last year, early last year. The they had some pyrotechnics involved in their gender reveal, and they had gone out into the mountains outside of LA and set off these pyrotechnics to reveal it was a boy, but then the brush caught fire and it spread all over, burned tons
Wow.
of.
I remember the wildfires last year, but I didn't realize that's why it started. So note, stop doing baby reveals like that. That is
also
absurd.
great for the photography industry, because then you have like the Facebook announcement photo, right? Like where it's like a cute like pair of boots and then like a little baby pair of boots. And then you have the I'm about to burst like sexy photo shoots. I'm like, I don't need to see my friends' wives like in lingerie in
that's weird.
like the middle of a desert. I got some
Okay,
weird
well
friends.
then if you don't want to see it, it's not for you, obviously. It's obviously not for you, Travis.
It's not for me.
Who is it for? Who is that photo shoot? Who are these events
I don't know.
really for?
And are they going to pull? It's not for the baby. The baby doesn't want to see that when they're grown up.
Baby's going to grow up and be like, Mom, what is going on? Why are you
Stop pulling out those photos, Mom? Yeah. I want like a COVID belly picture. I got a nice little belly I'm working on. I want just like in the woods, like ivy strategically placed around my nipples, and then just a big old belly right there.
Oh,
I like it. I like it.
Did you say IVs or Ivy?
Ivy, not the poison kind, but like the sexy kind, you know?
Okay, but what does that have to do with coronavirus?
No, it's just aesthetic.
Oh, yeah. You've just been rolling around in people's yards.
I've been buying a lot of plants. I haven't bought a COVID dog, but I have bought a lot of COVID plants. So, yeah.
There you go. Just drape yourself in all of your COVID hobbies.
Exactly.
Oh, that's funny. I was trying to find on Facebook how we revealed it, but ours wasn't nearly as cute as what you guys are talking about. So I'm just not even going to bother sharing it. But yeah, no,
Thanks for
it's
the
nuts.
letdown.
I want to start like a Fiverr like site. You know how on Fiverr you can like, have you guys heard of this website? You know, we can get people to draw stuff for you or write copy for you. I want to like come up with I will come up with a unique I won't take it, but we'll pitch some baby photo ideas.
That's all we
there
did.
you
We did a little photo, and we also added some reaction videos from the in-laws.
Not nearly erotic enough. Not nearly erotic enough.
We need to do a Photoshop contest for that. Need to have some wildlife creeping up in the background.
Yeah. How about like
maybe Lance peeking in.
Yeah. A Han Solo and Slave Leia kind of deal going on. I'm sure that's happened before with these.
I was actually really disappointed because Lance's wife actually does photography. She did our maternity or whatever. We did a photo shoot, but we still haven't even posted the photos. But I was disappointed because I wanted Lance to come along with her so that he and I could do a few shoots together. I wanted him to hold me from behind and grab my belly. I wanted a kissing the belly picture with Lance.
Oh,
you should get a giant snake and just drape it around your shoulders. Like nothing could send that message clearer, I think.
No, I'm not putting a snake anywhere near me like that. That is not going to work.
Well, I'm sure Lance will have about 3 or 4 more kids, so there's still some opportunity for you guys to get that photo shoot in.
There you go. Well, hey, let's move off from the topic of babies. What have you guys been enjoying? Are you still doing your James Bond, Travis?
I've slowed down. I'm still I'm finishing. I got to do. I think it's the last Roger Moore one is up on deck. But I really slowed down. I hit the rough patch. I hit the rough patch, and it really slowed down. But I'm going to finish it before the end of this summer.
Is that
no word?
Lance?
Lance
did not want us to stop talking about the baby.
Everyone.
Hello,
Lance.
Hey, he wanted to show us his baby.
There's Olivia who's about to start crying, so I can't stay on very long.
Oh, very sweet.
Well, for the listeners, she is very cute and she looks like a baby.
Olivia, what have you been binging lately? Binging that bottle? Binging that, well, not bottle, but
binging that booby.
Binging that booby. A good old booby binge. I like the first season. The second season dried up a little bit.
I love it.
We should have done some photos.
Oh, you were listening?
Max and I have a whole series of because his wife usually took our Christmas photos with my wife's camera. So Max was always there. So Max and I always take Christmas photos.
I still have a brilliant ideas, guys. Next time I'm in AZ, we need to get all the podcasts together. We need to come up with an Arizona Geek podcast calendar.
There you go.
We need to make an Arizona Geek podcast calendar. Absolute Geek.
I've been wanting to do that for a
Couch
while,
Crunchers, Comic Exposure, and just have the most ridiculous months photos.
I love this idea.
I want to see the absolute geek guys in
in Speedos. You've always wanted to get them in
in
Speedos.
firefighter pants without shirts and suspenders.
Okay, I would legit use this calendar if we can add Julian dates to it. Because I use Julian dates for my job all the time.
I use Mayan.
Yeah, Julian dates are basically just like what number of day it is in the year. So what's today? It's the 11th. Today is 193. That's the Julian date. It's the 193rd day of the year. I have to use it's something we use. That might work. Anyway,
Hear me okay?
yeah, we can hear you. Okay. What are you watching?
I'm not
I can
using
see a reflection in the background.
Oh, I'm watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, I can see a reflection in the background of like a mirror.
Trying to get the Marvel fandom started early with this little one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
I will be on next week with Sam and Tyler, I think, to talk about Hamilton. Right?
That's the plan. Yep. Hamilton.
So we're going to talk about Hamilton. And Travis, you're welcome to join us.
Wait a minute. You tag me in for Eurovision and you get to talk about Hamilton?
If you want to come, have you watched it?
I gotta check the weather forecast for the next time.
Yeah, if it's sunny, he's not gonna get on.
I saw it in
Vitamin
London.
D.
I saw it in London last summer, and then I watched it the original cast version last week
On Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
A little sneak peek. I don't know if it's just because hype was really elevated with this. I was less than impressed. So, little sneak peek. What we'll talk about next week.
Sounds good.
Lance, we're losing you. Sorry about that, bud. You're cutting out on us.
Talk to you later.
Max hasn't even seen it.
I haven't seen it yet.
So, but
I
you
love
guys have
musicals, so I'm curious to see how I feel about it.
You guys have a good show. I wish I could talk about this movie with you. As you can see, I am surrounded by children. Stop. I'm surrounded by children, so have a good show. Eurovision was fantastic. And I'll talk to you guys next week.
Talk to you later, Lance. Enjoy your baby.
Bye.
Congratulations.
Wow. All right.
How do you follow that up?
You follow it up by telling everybody how you have been enjoying James Bond.
Or is it the Living Daylights the one you're on?
I don't know what's next. Actually, I can look that up. Anyways, it's going to be a slog. Lazenby. I'm looking forward to getting to Lazenby era. Yeah. Not Lazenby. Who comes after Moore? Lazenby I've already seen.
It's Timothy Dalton.
I thought it was
Dalton.
yeah.
Dalton. Thank you. Yeah, Dalton. I've never seen a Timothy Dalton Bond movie, so I'm really looking forward to. I'm hoping that will reinvigorate me to finish this.
About half of them are really good, and half of them are really just not that good. But
yeah. James Bond
License to Kill is really good.
It's fantastic. It's one of my favorite James Bond movies.
That one gets brought up a lot in just casual conversation. People are like, License to Kill. I'm like, yeah, that's a Bond movie. I don't know anything about it. I'm like, yeah, Bond.
It's good. It's
when you get there, you'll like it, I'm sure.
Cool.
So let's ask a quick question then while we're talking about James Bond. I'll start with you, Travis, since you've been watching them all. Who is your favorite actor to portray James Bond? I think we might have done this already, actually.
Yeah, I would really love it for it to be someone other than Sean Connery. Because I'd like to be kind of contrarian and be like, I like this kind of off, but I can't. I think that Connery, aside from all the blatant misogyny and kind of abusiveness that happens on and off screen, it just, to me, it just screams that kind of debonair, charming, and the style the style, and part of it's being in the 60s and that kind of the fashion and the style. And I think that the film stock they use, it just screams that kind of fun, enjoyable, and it's fun to see the mechanics of the stunts when we don't. As I'm moving through Bond, you see the evolution of stunts increase, and you see the kind of sleight of hand that happens with stunts more. It's kind of, especially in the Roger Moore era, but during the Sean Connery phase, that camera's on and we're not cutting as much. So, they're throwing punches, they're doing rolls, and it seems very elementary, but it's kind of fun seeing that, then put the camera on sticks, keep it there, and you're watching that stunt right before your eyes.
Yeah, I like that. How about you, Sam?
So I'm going to do what Travis couldn't do right here.
Okay.
Zany pick. In 1967, there was a movie called Casino Royale, which was a parody spoof of James Bond, starring Peter Sellers, who's famous for Inspector Clouseau of the Pink Panther fame. But he was very funny in the movie. The movie is hilarious. Yeah. And he was very cool, very unlike his Inspector Clouseau. But as far as serious Bonds, definitely Daniel Craig is the one who's kind of captured my attention the most. I really loved his Casino Royale. And also Skyfall was really good. And the first 10 minutes of Spectre were really, really good.
Dude, that one shot, how it started, was fantastic.
Oh, yeah, so good.
Yeah.
The rest of the movie didn't live up to the high standard of those first 10 minutes, but otherwise really, really good.
Yeah, I'm with you. Daniel Craig is my favorite, and Timothy Dalton's probably my second favorite. I really, really like License to Kill. Like, it's so good as far as James Bond movies are concerned. But yeah, Daniel Craig is my favorite as well. But we're
gonna be talking about a Bond later today when we talk about Pierce Brosnan coming back in. Silver Fox, just a handsome man. I'd love to take some maternity photos with that guy.
I like it.
What about you guys? What have you guys been consuming?
Let's go to Sam.
So I started watching, in between One Piece runs, I started watching a couple of shows that show a lot of promise. I haven't finished them yet, but one of them is Dark, and it's a German series on Netflix. It's got some time travel mysteriousness and some kind of Stranger Things vibes to it. And it's been really, really interesting to do a lot of like kind of showing side by side the same characters portrayed by different actors because they happen about 30 years apart. And so you have a young actor and an old actor who are portraying the same character, and they show them side by side to help you keep track. And then,
does it take place in the 80s? Is that where the Stranger Things vibe comes in?
It does take place in the late 80s, but also in 2019. It's not just that. It's the fact that it's a small town and there's a lot of people involved and there's a lot of kids involved. Mm-hmm. And so you have, different levels of different age groups kind of going through their own adventures, and then they all kind of converge at this mysterious power plant, which is very much like Stranger Things.
Yeah, Spielberg-esque, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's kind of slower paced. The mystery is building quite a bit slower than Stranger Things. They're doing a lot more kind of atmospherics than I would say Stranger Things did. They kind of jumped into the Steven Spielberg atmospheric tropes pretty quick, and Stranger Things, while it was dark, is taking its time. There are 3 seasons available on Netflix. I'm only about halfway through season 1, and it's pretty fascinating. The other thing I've been watching, which isn't quite as good, but I think the only reason I'm watching it is because I wrote a story that had similar themes. It was called Warrior Nun or Warrior Nuns.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about teenage girls who have superpowers endowed by religious figures. In particular, an angel's halo is implanted in one of the girls, and she develops superpowers as a result. And all the characters have very religious sounding names. You know, one of the guys' names JC for Jesus Christ, right? And
Sure,
then
sure.
you've got Sarah and Miriam and Lilith.
Crucifix.
Crucifix.
There's a gal named Lilith, and I'm still waiting for her to turn around and be the mother of demons, you know. But it's all right. It's not great. You don't have.
That is the problem when you name off these you know, these tropes, these characters, is it lets you know, like, oh, your name is, you know, Morningstar or Lucifer or Lilith, and you're like, okay, you know, they can always subvert that, but
yeah.
If they're going with religious themes, they typically stick to the themes of those names too. I've noticed.
Yeah, I mean it's all right. I'm not here to tell you that it's a knockout, but it's something I've been watching, and I'm going to see it through.
That's okay, because I think people are starting to look more towards the bottom of the bucket as far as what's out there to consume. So I think a lot of people have gone through like their recommend list, like the ones that people have said, oh, you got to watch this one, that they've been kind of building up over the years. And now it's kind of like, all right, what's kind of on the peripherals? What's good, but maybe hasn't gotten the hype.
Yeah, I would say if that's what we're doing, Dark, go check out Dark. Dark is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I've heard good things about Dark.
It's more atmospheric than Stranger Things, but still, it's in the same vein, and I think it shows a lot of promise. It just doesn't have the same kind of popcorn value that Stranger Things has, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's tougher because it's in, you know, it's dubbed because it's in German.
Yeah, but they do a good job. They do a really good job. And German is very similar to English, so a lot of the words you can't hardly even tell that they're speaking a different language.
Oh, really? That's cool. Yeah, I've been wanting to watch that one. And Warrior Nun, I saw the trailer when it came out a few weeks ago or a month ago or whatever, and I was like, that looks interesting. And then I saw a new trailer, or it was a clip. I saw a clip of the show, and I was like, this looks awful. And so it sounds like it's somewhere in the middle of the first trailer I saw looked pretty cool. The clip I saw was awful, and the show is just kind of like, okay. So I might check it out. It's on my list on Netflix. But before that, I want to watch that one with Charlize Theron that just came out. What is that?
The Old Guard is what it's called.
The Old Guard. Yeah, that one. I want to watch that one that just came out, I think, like yesterday.
Is that a series or film?
It's a film.
It's a film.
Okay.
That's based off of a graphic novel. Yeah, but I've been rewatching the MCU movies. We watched Captain America: First Avenger and reviewed it last week on the show, and then ever since then I have started rewatching the movies. So I watched Winter Soldier after Captain America: First Avenger, and then I did Civil War, and then I'm like, you know what? I want to keep watching MCU movies, so I've just been kind of watching them in order since then. And right now I'm in the middle of Thor Ragnarok. I'm wanting to just kind of watch them all again. I always enjoy rewatching the MCU movies, but beyond that, I've been playing Red Dead 2 again. And I love that game. Since it's my second time playing it and I know how the story plays out, I've been taking my time a little bit more, doing more side quests, exploring the world, and just kind of being more chill in it, you know? It's been nice. Like, I don't know if I mentioned this on the show or if I was telling my wife this, but you can probably hear it. Unfortunately, my office is a little bit warm, especially when the door is closed. But I have a fan running behind me. But when I was playing the game the other day, there was a part where I was just traveling around, and you're in basically what is essentially the Rocky Mountains. They don't call it that, but it's essentially the Rocky Mountains. And the game is beautiful. And I've got the surround sound in here, and it was like I could hear birds chirping behind me in the speakers, and then I'm in the mountains and it's beautiful. And then I've got the fan blowing on me, and I was like feeling the breeze. And
stop it. That's not fair, man. We're all stuck inside. What are you talking about? What are you doing to me?
It was so nice.
It's 160 degrees right now.
And that's what was nice about it. It's been 100 and something degrees, and here I am playing a video game in my office, and I felt like I was transported into the Rocky Mountains. It was wonderful. So anyway, it doesn't sell Red Dead 2 to an Arizonan right now. I don't know what would. Anyway, yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to. Rewatching MCU movies, replaying Red Dead 2. I'm really looking forward to, and I don't think you speak Japanese, do you, Travis? But I'm sure you know
just a little bit. Yeah.
But I'm sure you know pronunciation better than me. But there's a game called Ghost of, and I think it's Tsushima. Does that sound right instead of Tsushima?
Tsushima. So you have
Yep.
Su, Shi, and Ma would be your
So it would be
syllables.
Tsushima.
Tsushima, yeah.
Okay, so she
Tsushima.
is where it would be. Okay, then the people at IGN have been saying it wrong. They keep saying Tsushima, and so Tsushima. All right, cool. Anyway, that's coming out.
I mean, they're probably
both
more
equivalent.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's the same word.
It's just the
it's
emphasis.
where
yeah,
you
yeah.
put the emphasis. But I'm looking forward to that. That one's set like in feudal Japan, and I love that time period. I think it's really cool. So that's coming out on Friday. Looking forward to playing that open world PlayStation exclusive, and we play that on the PS4 this Friday. So I need to get my PS4 back from Tyler. I let him borrow it while I was playing Red Dead 2, but really looking forward to that and kind of transporting myself to feudal Japan before my baby gets here. But we'll see. My wife could go into labor during this show, and if so, good luck, Sam. You can take the reins. I don't think that's going to happen, though. You could do
More
it. I'm not
babies.
worried about it. More babies.
I think
Sorry,
we might have foreshadowed your wife's water breaking earlier in the show with all the baby talk we've been doing.
Her uterus is glowing as we talk about it. All right. Well, hey, let's get into the movie then.
With that brilliant segue,
you
the
guys are
glowing
so
uterus.
you guys are so fun to talk to. We're already about 30 minutes into the show, so let's start talking about Eurovision Song Contest: The Story of Fire Saga. That is a very long movie name, but I decided I'd put the whole movie name into the banner here. I started with you last time, Travis. So Sam, we'll start with you. What did you think about this movie?
So I was a big fan of the first Pitch Perfect movie. And my wife had rented that movie and I was ignoring it. I was like writing a book or something at the time. And in the first scene, you have the very catchy a cappella singers come in, and I turn around and I'm watching, and then the girl like pukes in the first scene. And it just is very shocking, but very hilarious. And so at that moment, I stopped what I was doing and I sat down and watched the whole movie, and it was terrific. With Eurovision, they open with this really kind of zany Viking number, like Viking hairband rock or hair metal or whatever you want to call it. And it was striking, and it kind of caught my attention as well. And at first the music was, I couldn't tell if it was being kind of tongue in cheek or if it was being sincere. But it was really good music. Yeah. As far as the Fire Saga songs went, I really enjoyed them. But watching the movie, it hit a lot of the same beats as Pitch Perfect. You know, they had the contest format, which they use in Pitch Perfect as well. They also had a riff off, which is where a bunch of groups get together and they mash up a bunch of songs. That was also in Eurovision. And it also had a lot of these zany elements that were present in Pitch Perfect, but maybe more so in the sequels to Pitch Perfect. But if you're into Pitch Perfect, I feel like Eurovision scratched a lot of that itch. Obviously, it was focusing on a different kind of relationship dynamic, but it had a lot of the music, a lot of the silliness, and it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it.
You know, I think the itch it scratches more, though, was Zoolander. It very, very, very much gave off Zoolander vibes to me. As I was watching it, I kept thinking, this feels like what Zoolander did to male models and modeling in general. This feels like they're doing the same thing to singing contests. That's kind of the vibe I got from it. A lot of Zoolander making fun of things and being extremely silly. Anyway, I'll get into my thoughts a little bit more later, but you make the Pitch Perfect comparison, which I agree with, but I think it's like Zoolander and Pitch Perfect. It's similar with both of those, in my view.
Yeah, I would say I didn't catch a Zoolander vibe. When I was looking at the zany elements, it felt more to me like the kind of things you'd see in Anchorman. You know, just these crazy whack things that would just pop up, like the elves or the
elves was funny.
The crispy ghost of Demi Lovato. I thought that was pretty funny. but it's just, things like that, kind of the supernatural or just kind of out of the blue weird things that popped up.
Yeah. Well, what did you think of the movie overall, Travis? And by the way, I should mention, Sam didn't say any spoilers, so we're good. I forget sometimes because we do the YouTube and we say spoilers in the banner, but we don't always announce that. So we will be spoiling the movie. So if you're listening and not watching, just be aware of that.
Yeah. So I came to this movie and I love a good Will Ferrell vehicle. I mean, even the bad ones, I usually find enjoyment with them. I mean, they're just bits, and the delivery. Will Ferrell has this kind of one. He's this character, and usually you get like the innocent, or you get the egomaniac that has enough self-deprecation in his delivery to make an arc out of it that's somewhat fulfilling. So I always love that, and this kind of walks the line between the innocent and the egomaniac. It's kind of bringing in a lot of elements from his typical vehicle. So I started watching this on Netflix, and I got to the riff off as Sam mentioned, and I turned it off. And then I got a message from you guys saying, "Hey, do you want to do the podcast on the 11th?" And I said, "Sure, cool. What's the movie?" And then you guys said Eurovision, and I said. All right. So then I waited like a week, and I said, okay, let me start this over, but let me go into it with a different mindset. I'm not watching it for like, hey, let's find something that I think that is something that is right in my kind of wheelhouse right now, because I'm not a fan of shows like The Voice and stuff like that. I appreciate what they were. I just don't watch them, and
Sure.
I know of Eurovision, and so I'm like that's the premise. I'm like, let me watch this. Now that I've kind of got halfway through and I kind of know the tones and vibes that are set up, let me watch this through the eyes and just kind of see how they're building the movie, and then kind of judge it from that aspect. And on my second viewing, I enjoyed it much more. I was able to enjoy, I think there's, even though it's very adherent to formula, I think there are a couple of moments of heart that play well here that you don't get as much in some of the more zanier films like a Zoolander, and maybe leans a little bit more towards Pitch Perfect. I haven't seen Pitch Perfect, but just from what I've gleaned from it. So yeah, I think that in today's conversation, I'm kind of going to be looking at what this film is doing well within its kind of genre that it's in, and talking about some specific moments that I thought were done really well, and the performances that I think it just hit home.
Okay. So I had trouble with this movie. I watched it today in probably 4 or 5 sittings, mostly because I was just busy. But I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was great. I thought I did get the heavy Zoolander vibes from it. I got Pitch Perfect vibes from it, and I thought it, if it was trying to copy those, it did it poorly. I don't think it was bad. I thought some of the jokes were pretty stupid, but I also thought there was a lot of really funny jokes. Like the elves thing was hysterical. I loved that the elves were this theme, and I especially loved the part at the end of the movie, or near the end of the movie, when you find out that CFO guy or whatever for Iceland, he was like the financial guy for Iceland, that he blew up the boat and he was trying to kill Will Ferrell, and then he gets a knife in his back and you see the door to the elf house shut. Like, that was hilarious. I thought that was great. And there were a few other jokes that were pretty funny. Like,
I wrote down that line. I will just leave this knife here in case you need to commit more murders.
Yeah, and there were some hysterical moments like that. I liked Dan Stevens' character, the Russian guy. I thought the Greek statues with his face and the massive penises was hilarious, because I'm just like, he's like, yeah, that's how they do it in Greece. Like, no, it's not. You look at the statues in Greece; they're not big penises. They're very, very like small. But anyway, I thought there were some really funny moments. I think it was maybe too silly for me. Maybe I wasn't in the mood for this movie today when I watched it. I don't know. I like Will Ferrell, but this felt like a very generic Will Ferrell. Love him as Ron Burgundy. Freaking hilarious. He has a smaller role in Zoolander, but I love that movie, and I think him as Mugatu is freaking hilarious. I love his role in The Office. Step Brothers is funny, but this one just didn't resonate with me as much. Again, I didn't dislike it. I just thought it was okay. Sam, it sounds like you liked it the most. Like, are there a few moments in particular that really stuck out to you that you just like took away?
Well, maybe like, what if we break it down? And so I'm sorry, I don't mean to like,
No, go ahead.
like, hey, yeah. But what if we talk about some of like the devices before we talk about the specific moments? I'm more like big, like this movie hinges on the Eurovision contest, right? And that's a little off center, especially, I think that choice is. So what did you think about that being the axis in which this whole story revolves? It is that big device in order to tell this love story and this underdog story. Like, what about that the device of the contest?
Yeah, so that's for me why I make the comparison to Pitch Perfect, because Pitch Perfect is the same exact story structure. You have this group of girls, and they're trying to get to nationals, and so they have every round in this contest, they have an opportunity to drive the story forward with a performance. And that's the same thing that happens in Eurovision. You have their opening round in Iceland where they make fools of themselves, but due to technicality that all the other contestants are destroyed, they get to move on to the next round. Well, that's kind of the same thing that happens in Pitch Perfect. They turn in a mediocre performance, and yet by technicality, they make it to the next round. And then again, you have another subpar performance, but then by a miracle, because they show a lot of heart, they get into the next round. And that's the same thing that happens in Pitch Perfect. And then the only thing is that when they get to the finals, they have to change everything up because we've already seen the performance twice now.
Yep.
And so they change everything up, and they give you something new and something surprising, but something that also reveals the change in each of the characters. So
yeah, they evolve past their wants and get what they need at the end of that last performance.
And so in the Pitch Perfect format, you have these girls, and they have been doing the same routine through the whole movie. And finally, they ditch that routine, and they find their own personality. And here you have Will Ferrell's character ditching his ego. Like you said, he's very egotistical. And he finally ditches his ego because he's not a bad guy at heart. And he sees what his partner has been creating, and that he really needs to be the vehicle for her rather than her for him. And so they do something transformative, and it doesn't matter who wins the contest at all. What matters is how these characters come together. And so they're using the contest as a really effective tool to drive the different acts of the film. Act 1 is about Iceland, Act 2 is about the preliminary round, and then the final act is about the grand finale. The one thing I wanted to talk about was the music. So in Pitch Perfect and a lot of things that they do there, you have very familiar songs that are being sung in a new way, and that drives a lot of the interest in that movie. Whereas Eurovision, you have a lot of very character heavy performance artists whose songs don't really have a lot of personality other than as kind of a parody or an extension of the parodic nature of their character. So for example, Dan Stevens' song is like hypersexual, hyper masculine. And it's an attempt to kind of, I don't know if it's meant to hide the fact or disguise the fact that his character is not what he seems, right?
Yeah, that was extremely obvious. And I did like how they handled that.
Just check, okay, this guy's totally compensating for something. And then you have the Greek lady, and she's got kind of the same thing, kind of a Spice Girls alumni vibe to her. Very sexy, there's a lot of twerking and her dancers are doing. And, but it's kind of a parody of what what actual pop artists are doing. But the songs are not familiar. There are original songs. Those characters' songs didn't really drive me. I really enjoyed Fire Saga's first song. I enjoyed their second performance of the contest song, and then that last song is a showstopper.
That thing was great.
Phenomenal song.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, not performed by Rachel McAdams, but it's very.
That was the joke I was making. Rachel McAdams only performed some of her.
Yeah.
Will Ferrell, on the other hand, he did all his own vocals.
Yes, and it was very off-putting in that final song. Will Ferrell's not a bad singer, but he's not a pop star.
Not a great singer either.
Yeah, and so hearing him sing alongside, because it's actually a Swedish singer who actually performed in Eurovision in 2006 that does the voice of Rachel McAdams' character. So it's like that girl actually that does the voice is a phenomenal singer. So next to her, Will Ferrell just sounded so off-putting to me. But that song was gorgeous. I loved that song. I actually finished the movie and rewound it so I could listen to it again because I loved it. I thought that song was great.
I think that I agree with Sam with talking about that structure of the Eurovision and what it does for the movie. It's a common structure that we use. I mean, they even used it in another Will Ferrell movie, Blades of Glory. I loved it when I was a kid in Sidekicks, that Chuck Norris vehicle, and you even see it in something like Top Gun, where by making it a contest and having these different levels of the contest, you immediately build in the stakes are built into the structure of the story itself. So if the personal conflicts aren't providing enough stakes for you, you have that innate human response to this is a competition, and that tension is building there. Now you know how it's going to go. Sam beautifully broke down the art, like how that works. You have the stumbled into the contest, their heart gets them to the next day, and then the third, like the kind of rule of threes when it comes to these things. So I think as an audience, we're kind of trained from past movies that use the structure to kind of be there and feel those stakes, and so it has that kind of fun. And then you're able to bring in, as also Sam said, those kind of character building moments, not through the interactions of the characters, that too, but also through we get to watch their performances and in our head kind of be our own judge. Like, ooh, I think that song actually is better than that. Or, ooh, they might, there's that sense of you get to judge as well in that competition of it. There's something innate about us wanting to root for the underdogs and see them rise through a competition, whether it be Maverick and Top Gun or the little blonde-haired kid in Sidekicks or Napoleon Dynamite and
Rudy.
Yeah, but that it's as a video game guy, I think maybe you'd appreciate that structure and that kind of Street Fighter-esque, like, and now you're in this stage.
Absolutely. No, I like the structure. I to get to that question of how did I like the avenue they were telling the story, I did like that. I like that Eurovision was the avenue. I actually had never heard of Eurovision before. In fact, when I first saw the movie pop up, I thought it was a fake contest, and then I looked it up. I'm like, oh, that's a real thing. Just wasn't something I was familiar with, which is ironic because they make jokes about that in the movie that Americans don't know what it is. But I liked the avenue. I do agree. I like competition structures. Miss Congeniality, I know it's a chick flick, but I like that movie, and that's a competition structure. Pitch Perfect is another example.
Great example, yeah.
Yeah, I like that kind of stuff. So the avenue they used to tell the story, I did enjoy, and I did enjoy the movie. It just didn't wow me, is all I'm trying to say. Are there any? I'm going to go back to the moments thing. Unless Travis, if you want to.
I got some more broader questions if you want. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna. I'm sorry. I'm such an a-hole. What did you guys? What did you guys think about other than the structure? And we could talk about moments with this. What did you think about the chemistry between our two leads in this, which is so much? They have so many scenes together in this. What did you think about the chemistry between Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams in this?
Okay,
did it service the movie well?
Go ahead, man.
Their chemistry, acting wise, I think was very good. I enjoyed watching them in scenes together. And and it happens in tons of movies. I just have a hard time picturing Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams hooking up. Rachel McAdams is a very beautiful woman. Will Ferrell they're not in the same league.
I like his long locks, though. I thought that added some handsomeness to him.
Yeah, I think their chemistry on screen, though, was really good. I thought they were hilarious. I loved the bit that they had back and forth with each other. The whole, I'm checking you out. I'm checking you out.
Cute.
I did really like that. That was cute. And, it made me think about the relationship I have with my wife. And we have silly inside jokes of things that we do as well. And so I thought their on-screen chemistry was really good.
What do you say?
Yeah, I really enjoyed. So I am kind of an amateur date doctor. And so I spent a lot of time telling guys what it is they need to accentuate to get girls' attention. Mm-hmm. And one of the things about Will Ferrell's character in this movie is that he is a Viking at heart, right? And it's not his looks that is impressing Rachel McAdams. It's his Viking spirit. It's his ambition. That's what she's attracted to. And so it doesn't matter that he's played by Will Ferrell. What matters is that he's ambitious, and she sees that ambition carrying him far, and she's 100% behind him all the way. The only thing is that they don't see each other romantically at the beginning of the movie. I mean, maybe she does, but he certainly just sees her as a partner in music, a kindred spirit. And the romantic feelings don't come in until they actually see each other in the arms of somebody else, and they realize that that's not what they want.
Yeah. Now to speak of a moment that goes to this topic, I thought after their hamster ball incident, that backstage conversation where she's like, "You can go, I'm staying." Yeah, I want you to do this for me. I want you to stay for me. And he says, "I want you to go for me." And they have that standoff. And I thought that moment, I thought the chemistry, I thought that everything they had done up to that with as Max was saying, with the little kind of jokey, like, I see you bits there, when you see a moment where they can't play it off, where they can't cutesy off the interaction, they can't put aside the elephant in the room. I thought that moment worked really well. And in other Will Ferrell vehicles, that movie might be played more for laughs. And I thought that moment was strikingly heartfelt and realistic, what a lot of couples go through.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a moment of ultimatums. And one of the things that is so that happens so often in these rom-coms is that one of the characters gives the other character an ultimatum. And the rule of ultimatums in movies is that whoever gives the ultimatum loses. And that's what happens here. They're each giving each other an ultimatum. They were unwilling to budge, and so they both lose. They both walk away empty-handed. Yeah. And what they really want in the end isn't the trophy. What they really want is each other. But they have to go through the ultimatum and the loss in order to get to that point. And so
a shift in MacGuffins. It's not the contest winning. It's the relationship. Yeah.
Yeah. So the chemistry, I thought, it's not like a sexy movie. It's a relationship movie, and it's not about sex. It's about these people learning to recognize and then express their desires to each other in a way that the other party can understand. And I thought they did that really well. I mean, Will Ferrell, he wasn't like a caricature as he usually is, right? He can come off over the top in a lot of his roles. And while it was like pushing it to that kind of campiness or cartoonishness with this movie, but it never quite crossed that line.
No one punted a dog off a bridge in this movie.
Right.
Anchorman, yeah.
I love Anchorman.
And one of the scenes that it was like really, really close to cartoonish was that riff off scene. I didn't really like the riff off. scene. I thought it was, I'm kind of with you, Travis. It was a low light of this movie. And maybe a lot of that has to do with the vocals that were displayed. But
the ghost was they played that up for a little bit of zaniness as well. The ghost coming in, which was a little bit left center from kind of the heart of the film. But other than that, you're right. There wasn't some of the Talladega Nights, zaniness and Zoolander zaniness. They kind of played it a little bit closer to the vest, and as far as how out there they would go. Right.
The ghost was pretty cartoonish, but the fact that she didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Kind of like made it pay off, He's like, like, you're a ghost. You should be paying attention.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because that was definitely. I was glad they brought her ghost back, because when she came and starts telling him that something bad is going to happen, here I am expecting something bad to happen at the contest, and then he gets saved from the elves from being killed, and then she comes back and didn't know anything. I thought that was pretty darn funny that she didn't know anything that was going on. I was glad to get that payoff though, because the whole movie I'm paying attention. Ooh, something bad's going to happen, and of course, him almost getting killed was that.
Any of you kind of side with the Icelandic television dude who was like, we can't win this. We can't afford, like, his argument made a lot of sense. He goes, we do not have the infrastructure to host this contest. Now,
I totally
going
agree
about it, but I was like,
these companies or countries host the Olympics and go bankrupt. To host
I was with him on that, but the whole killing everybody thing was pretty, it's pretty out there.
Yeah, but I was like, they need to really listen to this guy. I go, he said it, and his argument was so brief and made so much sense that I was like, yeah, we have to really consider this.
Yeah, like they were planting the seeds for the big reveal, and I think that's what they were trying to do, and they did a really great job. And in the end, all of his murderousness, it worked because they threw the contest, right? And so he got his wish, even if he was not around to see it.
He took one for Team Iceland. Yeah.
And that's another thing I really enjoyed, is getting some Iceland in the movie. Like, that's, you don't really see many movies that highlight Icelandic characters. There was one widow on Amazon Prime that had actually one of the Icelandic guys, the one with the beard who was on the committee. I think his name is Olaf or something like that. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, that actor was in Widow, and he's an Icelandic man, because that actor actually is Icelandic, and that was fun. But I think Iceland is a country you don't hear about a lot, and so it's fun. It was fun to see them in the movie and be spotlighted. I really liked that.
There are some small jokes in there. I have a friend who did a stay in Iceland for a while she was going to school, and she talked about like the dating apps in Iceland. I think they have. I might butcher this a little bit, but they have like a dating app where the sister joke is very common, because a lot of people in Iceland are related to each other. It's such a small population that I think there's a dating app there which lets you know, can kind of help navigate those waters to see if things are. I don't know if it's a dating app or a test, but it is something that they are it's a concern, because the population is so small. So you're right, Max. I thought that they did it a little bit. What did you guys think about the accents? Did the accent? I don't want to hedge my comment. What did you guys think about the accents in here and how they were being used?
I don't know enough about Norse accents to judge how good or bad they were.
Well, I guess I was thinking more from the standpoint of, do the accents, the delivery of the accents, sell subpar jokes sometimes in this film? Is half like from some of the jokes land because of, oh, cool, it's cool, just be cool now, cool. Like there's that bit where they're talking about being cool, and you remove the accent from that in some of these jokes, and you're like, yes, this hit. Yeah, I
think that's something I didn't like about the movie as much, is that I felt like the accent was used as a device to make me think things were funnier than they were. So I thought the accents were funny at times and not at other times. Like I loved when Will Ferrell was talking to the ASU students. That was pretty funny. All the kids from Arizona. That was nice. And I thought that was hilarious. And I think his accent made it funnier because he's yelling at all these Americans. And I know Will Ferrell's American.
Yeah. We don't want you here. Okay.
We don't want you here. Go build your wall. and then when they're at the bar with them at the end, I'm like, leave. We don't want you in our country. We hate you. Yes, the accent made those moments funnier. I thought there were other moments where Will Ferrell especially broke from the accent several times, especially in the more dramatic moments, and I caught that. But I didn't hate the accents, but I thought at times they took me out of my enjoyment.
The Russian character too had a lot of, I think a lot of his jokes amplified up because of what's a Fabergé egg, that's always kind of funny to hear when you sink into it.
Sure.
Well, what did you think of the accent, Sam? Or no, you said you don't know enough about it.
I don't know. I thought the Greek lady actually is Greek, so I think her accent was authentic.
Well, yeah. So Olafur is the guy's name. Olafur Dari Olafsson, and I probably am saying that wrong. He was the guy who had the beard. He represented Iceland, and he was like announcing during that second round, the semifinals. You know who I'm talking about in the movie?
Yeah, big guy.
Big guy. He's actually Icelandic. And so I knew that because I had seen him in The Widow. And so I was comparing his accent against theirs. And that's, I think, why it took me out of it so much. Because when I saw The Widow, I loved his accent. I thought that was so cool. Because I'm also not that familiar with Icelandic accents. And so I loved his accent so much that when they were trying to fake it, it took me out a little. Well, Travis, what else you got?
No, you go.
Let's get discussion questions.
No, I totally agree. I didn't have anything deep. I was just kind of going with it, so I appreciate that. What Sam always asks this, and I think it's a really great question. And I'll go to Sam first. What were the standout performances in this?
Oh, Rachel McAdams, she was so good. She's a beautiful woman to look at, but she's very expressive, and she did a lot of expression with her face and with the music. Like she obviously wasn't singing all the songs, but I thought her character had a lot of great music moments, and probably the best musical storytelling in the show was done by her character.
Yeah.
And that last song was so good. Like I would rewatch the whole thing just for that moment again. I've listened to that song many times since, and it just makes me feel really good to listen to that song. So she was the one that I really enjoyed. I felt like Dan Stevens, his character, like as soon as he showed up on stage, like I knew where they were going with him. I knew what the big reveal was going to be. And then everything that happened after that, it was like, yeah, okay. I was 90% sure when he first stepped on stage. Now I'm 98% sure.
I didn't even think they were trying to hide it. It was pretty clear to me that the character was a homosexual. Like I didn't think that was a reveal when it happened. I'm like, oh, he was hiding it? Like I don't know.
Well, if you didn't assume that that's what they were doing, and then you were shocked by that reveal, all you would have to do is go back to every single scene he was in and realize he was never interested in her romantically.
Yeah.
He was only interested in her to promote his own career.
And they made a reference to that, the Grease woman at one point, because he said, I can satisfy all of her needs. And she said, not all of them. I'm like, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I think it also, there is that, you make a good point. Like if you go back and look at their interactions, is that case. But it also, it hits at a American-centric view of masculism and how that's not the same across Europe. And I think a lot of maybe Americans who aren't as familiar with Europeans are there, and they see guys there, like those ASU guys, they'd be like, gay, that's gay, it's gay, he's gay. And it's just like, no, that's a different sense of masculinity, even with how they dress in especially like Eastern Europe, how the men dress in Eastern Europe, and where we might be like, that's not how you would be seeing here, but they're like, this is the most masculine outfit I can wear. Look how deep my how many buttons I have unbuttoned. But you're right in this. If Rachel McAdams hadn't called him out, I might say there was a little bit more wiggle room for him for that to play a little bit more like, oh, it's just the idea of masculinism. But she kind of calls that, puts that, and since it's her calling that out,
yeah,
there is a sense that might be more where they were towards what they were leaning on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for me, Rachel McAdams was the standout performance as well. I thought she was fantastic. Like I said earlier on the show, I've been rewatching the MCU movies, and in Doctor Strange, I love her. She's so good in that. I love her character, and I think that over the years she's become a better and better actress, and I thought she was great in this. I believed her as a pop singer. I believed her as a performer. Like, there was a moment where I'm watching this and I look at Will Ferrell's dancing, and it was so like wooden and not didn't flow very well. But then next to her, she looked like she could dance, and it looked good, and she was enjoyable to watch. And I mean, Will Ferrell was here to be funny. I mean, that's Will Ferrell's whole thing, is he's hilarious, and he really is. But Rachel McAdams to me was believable as a performer, and I thought she was great.
She was the heart.
Yes. What about you, Travis? Who was the standout? For you?
We mentioned some of them, so I'll mention one I thought was good. It was great seeing Pierce Brosnan back on there on screen. I'm sure he's done other stuff that I haven't watched recently. I thought playing that archetype of that father was really good. He doesn't have a lot of lines. He does so much with his look,
Yes.
and he's very still in this. He's moved to inaction when it, like, even in the beginning when he's yelling at his little son, he's sitting there. He's like, stop making a fool of yourself. In the bar, everything is very still, and it's just done with looks and tone. And, you know, just his look, that kind of rugged. And then you have that Will Ferrell look. I thought that helped establish those dynamics. You have a nice kind of tender scene on the boat before it's cut off with the, what do you mean they got in, to it. But I thought his performance, I thought that was a great dad to have in there. And of course, Rachel McAdams did a great job. And shout outs to Will Ferrell. I'm continually impressed with what he tapped into something in the 90s with this character that he would play even on SNL skits, and very much like Steve Martin in his early to mid career, he kind of plays within the boundaries of this very unique character that he's created and we all love and that we grew up with. And he's still finding ways to make that character a little bit more malleable. So it's not as cookie cutter as it may appear. It's like taffy. He pulls at certain ends of it that he needs in specific movies, like Steve Martin would kind of do, where he'd sink into his ego or his silliness or his bumbliness, and he would pull on those ends depending on what the character needed a little bit more. And so the fact that we're still watching and engrossed with movies where he's still doing that, I think it's just really talented. And his timing, of course, and his deadpan, he knows how to turn that on and off. And so it's just always great seeing him.
Well said.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, what else is on your guys' mind with Eurovision? Anything else you guys wanted to touch on?
What do you think about, so we have Eurovision, we're taking kind of this pop culture, this an institution, and we're turning it into a movie, like a pop culture institution and turning it into a movie. Can you guys think of any other untapped pop culture institutions that might make for a good film like this? You have, like, obviously not as apples to apples as The Voice, but is there anything out there? Like we've done it with NASCAR now. We've done it with ice skating. He's done it with, semi-pro basketball. He's done it with Eurovision. Are there any niche institutions that could make for a good film like this?
I have one, but I don't want Will Ferrell necessarily to do it.
Yeah, sure.
I would love to see, and this is not like a national scale, but I would love to see a movie about a battle of the bands. I think that'd be pretty cool, like a local and they've done similar things to that before. But I'd like to see that, like a bunch of punk rock bands. So it's like the kind of music that I like to listen to. I think that'd be pretty cool.
School of Rock doesn't.
School Rock does it. I wouldn't mind seeing more.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's hard to think of something that hasn't been tapped like that. But I will say some things that I have enjoyed recently that I didn't think I was going to enjoy that kind of fall into that category. So there's an anime available on Netflix called Haikyuu, and it's volleyball. It's high school boys volleyball, and it's fantastic. And they don't play it the same way that you might expect something like Eurovision. A whole season could be leading up. The first half of the season is leading up to a game, and then the second half of the television season, I should say, the second half of the television season is one game. And then when it goes to season 2 of the series, you have the first half is some training, and then the second half is the actual game. And it's really, really good. It's really engrossing, and something that I really enjoy. And
yeah, volleyball hasn't been touched. I can't think of anything that where it's been the vehicle or the device that brings the story in. Huh.
Yeah, and it's really, really good. And it got me to look at actual pro volleyball for at least a week. I was looking at pro volleyball YouTube videos for like a whole week. And yeah, ultimately I was like, okay, this isn't as dramatic. It's not as entertaining as the show about volleyball is.
Mm.
And so they really did sucker me into looking at volleyball because the show was so good.
I think you guys are forgetting about a pivotal volleyball movie, Air Bud Spikes Back. Come on now.
Forget about it. I never even knew it. I think if you take that volleyball, if you make a beach volleyball where they play with 2 people on each side of the court, it allows you to kind of have that more team aspect. And, you know, if you're going goofy comedy, and you have a really great environment, a setting, you know, you can do the beaches of Brazil, and it kind of has this, you know, fish out of water as, you know, different countries come from, a la dodgeball.
I think that would be cool, actually. Beach volleyball in Brazil would be cool because volleyball is really big in Brazil.
I was thinking logging, competitive logging they do.
Competitive logging. I think competitive.
The games. What are they called? The lumberjack
games. Oh yeah, lumberjack games. And I was thinking also, yeah. I thought that would be great because you could put it up, you know, in the north somewhere, and I think Will Ferrell could be great for that as that kind of bearded lumber, but he's got to have some sort of sensitive flaw to him, you know.
Here's another.
Better than the 1800s, though, and at least one character gets tuberculosis. Add some drama, you know.
Yeah, you can put it in a period piece, sure.
Here's another show that I thought was just really great, but didn't get a lot of attention. It's called The Detectorists, and it's about 2 guys and their metal detecting club.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
They go out. But the thing that I like about these types of shows is that the stakes are really small, but they feel worldwide, right? They feel
you learn about a world that you just haven't been in. Like after watching this movie, you know kind of what Eurovision is about, the kind of stuff you're going to get, and why people might enjoy it. The same with like competitive dodgeball. It's this very niche thing, but you learn it. Or lumberjacking or volleyball. It's a chance to learn about a different passion, and in these kind of kooky, they don't have to be kooky, but in these different ways, as opposed to just making it a general NBA film or a general golf film. It's like putt golf would be one, or something like that, you know, where you get a little bit more of like, not just, you know, it's frisbee golf, you know, it's like, oh, we're kind of a box within a box.
Marble racing.
Yes, exactly. That would be a popular one now.
Competitive water sliding. You could set the whole thing at Golfland and Sunsplash, film the whole thing there.
There you go.
Oh yeah, there's a amateur diving contest called the Death Dive Contest, and there were some pretty impressive dives. It's basically a high dive, almost belly flopping contest. You're trying, people will dive off and strike a pose on their way down, and then at the very last second tuck so they don't belly flop. But some people don't quite make that tuck.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I'm like stinging in my belly thinking about that.
Yeah, so there's lots of ways that could go wrong, but the two main ones that they highlight in the showcase was slipping off the diving board before you're able to initiate your trick, and then the other one is, of course, not hitting the tuck in time and then belly flopping. If you're going to go Happy Gilmore, you could have somebody come in and be like, man, I belly flopped so bad I had to get out of the sport altogether, something like that. So yeah, there's tons of little passions like that people have. And one that I think would be really funny is tabletop gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that certainly hasn't been, but I would love to see something like that. I'm not sure what game in particular. You could just make one up for the show, but tabletop gaming sure has a lot of personalities driving that, and you could really do a lot of work with that.
Okay, you know what? I actually just thought of something that I would like to see, and I'm not even kidding now. Esports is starting to get way more popularity, and I would not mind seeing a competition for esports, like whatever game they're playing. If you wanted to
like the Wizard. The Fred Savage movie, The Wizard, where he plays Nintendo games. Yeah.
Were we already talked about that?
Oh, do we?
I've never heard of that movie.
What Travis was referring to earlier in the show tonight.
Really?
I was thinking Sidekicks. I was saying Sidekicks earlier.
Oh, okay, yeah. The Wizard, where Mario Brothers 3. It's kind of like the over the top for Nintendo.
Yeah. Okay, esports. Yeah, you have a couple of demographics there. Yeah,
but that's I'm a gamer, so that's more interesting to me. I think that'd be fun. But I don't know how you'd shoot it as a movie. It's just, how do you shoot that to a wide audience to where it's fun?
Yeah. Check out the Wizard. Check out the Wizard, Max. I think you'll like it. As an old school gamer, it's and in your age demographic, it's gonna be nostalgic as well.
Okay, I'll have to check it out. The Wizard.
I believe there's a Power Glove somewhere involved in this movie.
Yeah. You're taking me back, Travis. Take me all the way back.
Nice.
And then watching him get that whistle, and we're like, "What? That's a thing?"
Yeah, I think it came out before the game was released, so everyone was just salivating for Mario Brothers 3 after that movie.
Everyone was like, "Well, we know about the whistle now. We saw the movie."
And they played it on the huge screens, which at the time as a kid, you're like, when you're playing on your grandma's little attic TV, the idea of playing a video game on a size of a movie theater was just unheard of.
Yeah.
Man. Guys, next week, let's do the Wizard. Can we do it?
Let's talk about the Wizard.
We should review the Wizard sometime. And so what do we want to rate this, guys? I think we're good. Let's get into our ratings. Start with our special guest Travis. What would you rate this movie?
Out of 5 cushions. Again, my journey into this film wasn't a great one. I got halfway through it and then I had to recalibrate how I watched it. Which I can do, when you kind of come at it from a different way. But I am going to deduct some points from my own personal viewing of that. I'm going to give it out of 5, 2.5 cushions. I thought that the performances were good individually. I thought the chemistry was good. I thought within the formula was formulaic, and I would like them to have stretched how they did that a little bit more. I thought a lot of the jokes were sold because of the goofy accents. The montage in the middle really killed the momentum of the movie for me at a very crucial time in the movie. That builds up in that kind of rising action. I'll probably be close to giving it 3, but I'm going to go with a gut instinct of 2.5.
All right. We'll go to you next, Sam.
All right. I'm going to be bolder. Be bolder.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do agree with you, Travis, that the riff-off montage in the middle had a lot of work to do, and I don't think it did it well.
Mm-hmm.
The work that it had to do was kind of solidify the outside forces closing in on the partnership, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Greek woman and Dan Stevens were making their moves on Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams during the riff-off, but you didn't really catch that very solidly. And so when the Greek lady pushes her way into Will Ferrell's room, it seems sudden, it seems abrupt. It seems like the kind of thing that you don't see Will Ferrell's character doing in that moment. Like, why would he didn't ever seem really interested in her? So why is he letting her come into
possibly sabotage?
Why would he even do that? Maybe more so you could see it with Dan Stevens, but what I'm saying is I don't think that number did the job that it was supposed to do. It was supposed to have good musical numbers, which the musical number was ho-hum. And it was supposed to do that story element that I just referred to, but it didn't do a good job of that either. Other than that, I also did not enjoy Dan Stevens' musical number, and I didn't enjoy the Greek lady's musical number as much. Other than that, though, I really did enjoy the story beats. I think there's a lot to love about this movie. My initial review on Facebook was probably a little generous. I gave it 4 stars originally, but I would say 3.5 now. But I did enjoy the movie quite a bit. I laughed and I enjoyed the musical numbers a lot. So 3.5.
Okay. All right. Well, for any of our listeners, throw out your scores in the chat. Love to hear what you guys think too. I'm going to go and kind of parrot Travis here a little bit. I think 2.5 for me. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good time. But as far as Will Ferrell movies are concerned, it's near the bottom for me. We mentioned on the show many that I like more. Each of the Anchorman movies, Talladega Nights, Zoolander, which is
Step
maybe
Brothers.
more of a Ben Stiller, Step Brothers. All of those I like better than this. It was fine. It was. There were some really funny moments, especially with the elves. I loved that moment with the elf. I thought that was hilarious. But all in all, I thought it was just kind of an okay movie. So I'm going to go 2.5 on it. And Michael says, "Sing ya ding dong." Oh yeah, sing ya ya ding dong. That's right. That was a funny joke too. That's my brother tuning in. What's up, brother?
That is a great bit, though. That guy did a great job. Sing ya ya ding dong.
Yeah.
I'm going to go in there. I'm going to sing it, but I'm going to curse him out in the middle of it because F him.
Yeah. Yeah, ding dong. That's it. Yeah. Anywho, Sam mentioned in our private chat, our video is listed as private on StreamYard for some reason, so we weren't seeing comments. I opened up YouTube and that's how I saw him, Sam. I'm like, wait, we have a ton of comments. Yeah, it's weird. So that'll be our review there. We've got a couple Fab or Flubs. I don't think it's going to take long to go through these, so let's just real quick
we gotta make it quick. Travis has to get out.
The sun is dying.
The sunshine, man.
I know it's been raining in Japan. We got to get him out there. Well, I don't know if you watch this show, Travis, but The Last Kingdom has been renewed for season 5. I know Sam and I both watch it, so this is a fab for both of us. I mean, for sure.
Yeah. I've only heard good things because I like Vikings, at least the first 3 seasons of Vikings, a lot. Yeah. And people keep saying that if you liked Vikings, then you'll like this show. And some people have even said it's better than that.
It's better. It's better than Vikings.
And so it's on there. The only reason I haven't watched it is just because I haven't been in that mood. And I think I would, but I am definitely going to check it out. I've only heard good stuff. So if it's as good as people say, more seasons.
I will say it depends on which side of the Viking divide, the Viking-Saxon war you want to be on.
Ooh, genetically, I am more Saxon. But I do love
The Last Kingdom.
I do love a good Viking undercut though. I like a more Viking style. But I don't know, maybe I got to root for home team.
Yeah, it's kind of tough if you're coming from Vikings, on the Viking side or the Dane side of the battle, coming in and seeing from the other angle.
That's actually a really good kind of caveat to anyone who is going from Vikings to that, because I want, because you fall in love with that Viking culture and you're rooting for it. It's interesting. All right.
I think The Last Kingdom, I mean, Sam's right. It's definitely the Saxons side of the story, but I think it does a good job of displaying both sides to some degree. Because even as I watched Vikings, I was like, these guys are pretty messed up people. What they're doing here, I mean, they're the protagonists of the story. You're rooting for the Vikings. You're rooting for Ragnar. I love Ragnar in Vikings. He's so awesome. But I think The Last Kingdom does a pretty good job of making you like some of the Vikings, especially Ragnar, which is not Ragnar Lothbrok, but in The Last Kingdom, there's a character Ragnar who you really they want you to like, and you do.
I watched the trailer because I'm like, oh, I'll start this. I watched the trailer. I don't know if you guys have seen the trailer to it. The trailer doesn't suggest the series is as good as everyone says it is. And now I think that's just maybe the way they cut the trailer. My question is, do you follow, like we do in Vikings, especially in the early seasons, the main protagonists? Did they film most of the scenes, or are you getting the are there several leads to this which we split our time with?
There's one guy, his name is Uhtred, and Uhtred is a Saxon who was adopted by Danes, and so he's both
that came across in the trailer,
and he's kind of the one person in all of the British Isles who can bridge the divide between Saxon and Dane. And he's the key to uniting all of England. And everyone hates him, but everyone uses him. Everyone sees his usefulness. So you end up falling for him, and you root for him, but he gets played by everybody. And the first couple seasons especially, it's very frustrating to watch his path when he wants something so simple and everyone is ascribing to him, kind of Machiavellian means to his ends, and it's really not that way.
Yeah.
So the first two seasons are really frustrating, and I think they really hit their stride at the end of season 2. Season 3, really good. Season 4, even better. I think season 4 has been the best so far.
And season 3 and 4 were fully Netflix. Season 1 and 2 were BBC. So you can tell some degree of difference. I think season 2 might have had some Netflix involvement. I'm not 100% sure, but I know season 3 for sure was 100% a Netflix production. Season 3 is my favorite season. I think it's really, really good. I liked season 4, but season 3 is better in my thought, because it really gives you a connection between some characters you wanted to be there. I don't want to say too much. It finally gives you some payoff that you had for all of the first 3 seasons.
The first 3 seasons are kind of Uhtred is shadowing the king, and he's kind of like the mirror to the king of Wessex, who's like the actual historical figure. And so it kind of makes Uhtred the key to his success in all of his battles, but he also hates Uhtred at the same time. And
like an apprenticeship type thing, a reluctant apprenticeship.
Yeah, they have this kind of uneasy friendship, and it's like keep your enemies closer.
Yeah. And Uhtred makes some pretty dumb decisions on his end. He also is treated unfairly several times, but he then makes stupid decisions on his own, and because of how useful he is, he's able to continue living. But yeah, I'm super excited for season 5. They announced this on a YouTube video to the cast members, like the actor who plays Uhtred. I can't think of his name right now.
Alexander Draymond.
Thank you. So they were doing like a live chat, and he revealed it to his fellow cast members that the show had been renewed, and they were all really excited. I thought that was a cool announcement.
Yeah. I mean, we could talk about Last Kingdom for a whole episode, I'd say, but I
give it a preemptive fab.
The series follows a book series. Each season covers 2 of those books.
And you can tell. You get halfway through the season, you're like, hey, it looks like it's resolving. Yeah, which isn't a bad thing. I like it. The production quality is pretty high, I think, and so I really, really enjoy it. I think it's a great show, and I think there's the 13 books and a 14th coming out or something like
Oh,
that.
wow.
Or,
Yeah, they're still being written. The author is like, I've got to churn out more books so they have more material for their seasons. But it takes place over many, many decades, and you're not really sure how old these people are in real life because the actors haven't aged as fast as the characters have. So
yeah.
Vikings had that same issue too.
Yeah. Yeah, like still to this day, I'm watching Vikings and they've got Lagertha, who's supposed to be like probably in her 70s by now. And they use makeup and do the best they can, but she does not look like she's in her 70s. But I mean, it is what it is. It's fine. But Sam, you blew my mind when a few weeks ago you told us how old freaking the Queen's wife is. I could not believe that when you said, yeah, she's like 26. Like, are you kidding me? I thought the actress was like 40. So they do a pretty good job with the makeup. And she's pretty. Like, I never would have guessed that was actually a pretty woman in her 20s. Like, what the?
They make her so hateable in the show, and in real life, she's just delightful, and she's beautiful, and, you know, you'd love to spend a day with her. She's just...
Yeah, she seems like a really fun person. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, well, let's get into our last one, and then we'll let Travis see the sun. All right, and this isn't like a ton of news so much as something I thought was interesting. J.K. Simmons has said he is ready to do reshoots for Justice League should Snyder call.
That means he's still jacked. That's what he means. He's still hitting the gym, baby.
I just think
I
it's
wonder
cool.
if that is like I wonder if it's just a humble brag.
Yeah.
And I'm ready. Whenever, man.
I still got the guns. Boom.
Yeah.
I took it more as he's just like, I'm down. Like, let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's get these reshoots done. Probably because he wants some work. He needs some money. But I think that's cool. I think it'd be really good if they did some reshoots for his Snyder cut. I think that'd be awesome. I want this thing to be as good as possible. I think the Justice League movie had a lot of potential, but it got squandered.
Yeah, as long as the reshoots are with Snyder.
Yeah, right.
That like they're not just bringing in like an assistant director to shoot some stuff that was in the script, but to actually have, if it's a Snyder cut, let's have him on set directing the reshoots. Which
Yeah,
I'm sure
absolutely.
that. Well, I don't know. I don't know if they would do. I don't know if they would do that because. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you would pay, you'd have to pay Snyder's freight on that, and also there's some political stuff in there as far as Snyder might not want to step on toes, even though he seems to be embracing the Snyder cut quite a bit. But if it's not, that would be my stance. If it's not going to be, if the reshoots aren't going to have Snyder on set directing, then
why bother?
I agree. Yeah. He needs to be
then
on
it's
set.
not a Snyder. Then it's not a Snyder cut to me.
Yeah, I mean, he'd still be assembling everything, but I agree with you.
Oh yeah,
I'd want him there directing, but I would love it because I think, you know, it's normal for movies to need reshoots. That's super common. So what I suspect is that he didn't maybe get all the scenes he wanted to with Henry Cavill, and some of those reshoots maybe were needed, but Henry Cavill at the time had the freaking mustache for Mission Impossible, and it just looked awful in their effects department. So if we could actually get Cavill back and the other people that were in the scenes with him to do reshoots so that it could really have the effect he wanted, I think that'd be cool. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Snyder shot enough scenes originally and he's got what he needs to cut it together other than like VFX or the effects, you know, the CGI and stuff. I don't know. But I think this is cool. I hope that if they need to do reshoots, the studio will let them. I'm excited to see this next year.
Amen to that.
Awesome. Well, that'll do it for us tonight then. Next week we are going to be reviewing Hamilton. I will most likely be on the show unless something happens with my wife. Lance is planning on being on. Tyler is. Were you going to be on, Sam?
Yeah, I'm planning on it.
And Travis, if he wants to, you are more than welcome. So yes, if you guys want to follow our show next week, watch Hamilton on Disney Plus, and check us out on Facebook, on Twitter, and on the website. And check out Comic Exposure, Travis's podcast as well. Mm-hmm. They're a great podcast. I enjoy listening to them from time to time. It's basically a comic book club. It's awesome. But until next,
yeah, it was great. I was worried about talking about Eurovision, but I think we mined some good stuff out of it. So it was great being on.
And I have to commend you, Travis. you and I had the exact same score, and the entire review sounded so much more positive than I did the entire time. So good job with your
I don't think I don't think I've been on quite a bit, but I don't think I've been on enough to really quite calibrate my ratings yet, whereas I can kind of put it into like my own system and then be like, well, it hit this point but didn't hit this, so that makes it this. So it might change on a recalibration. But
Sam's method is really good and works for him. It just doesn't work as well for me, so I don't use it. But it's all good, man. Whatever works for you. I kind of wish your rating system works for me, Sam, because it's so simple. Do I want to see it again? Do I want to watch it again? But that's tough for me because there are movies that suck that I'll rewatch. Anyway, all right. Well, until next time, guys, thanks for tuning in and keep on geeking your on.